Gaming.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Flange with Intoxicus Gaming. Today is January 29th, 2020, and today's topic is Warcraft 3 Reforged, and more specifically the backlash against two specific grievances, which are first of all, there's some things that were promised or people feel like were promised that they feel like might even qualify as false advertising legally. I'm not sure. I don't know enough to comment because it's a little bit more nuanced, and we'll get into that. And we'll start with covering the issue of the terms of service for the custom maps and custom games, which there's a big issue with that, as we'll check out. Before we get started, though, there's this article from Ars Technica. Just get the URL there. I'll do my best to remember to put it in the description, but I've been forgetting that, but I will remember, or do my best to. This article, it's a bit of a long one, and it goes in depth of like the whole history of Warcraft and Warcraft 3. It's really good. It's just a really good read. I ran across this. It touches on Reforged at the end, but it's just a really, really good article. And like technically there's a bunch of issues. So there was some serious technical issues we have to keep in mind here. This one I found to be worth pointing out. Rather fittingly, too, hasn't all been smooth sailing with this reforging. There's been a laundry list of struggles along the way. The 3D rendering engine had to be rewritten, for instance, and the art team faced drastic changes in their development pipeline as it transitioned from 3ds Max to Maya. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's like. I've not been involved, but switching between proprietary formats between programs like that can be hell. Just getting into Adobe Creative Cloud, I've quickly learned I am in Adobe Creative Cloud. I am in that ecosystem now. I'm in that format, and it is a pain in the ass to convert out of that format when it comes to file types and stuff. And there's like weird specific specificities and stuff, like this whole 3ds Max to Maya. I'm like, ooh, I think I understand what happened. We'll get into that later. It's just mostly I wanted to point out the article. Another thing is it said the shift from the original's hand-drawn to reforged physically based rendering shaders initially came with the drawing loss of saturation and vibrancy that took a lot of tuning to get back to the Warcrafty level fans expected. So yeah, unexpected shit like that you just can't even see coming because no one's really ever done this before necessarily. I don't know for sure, but they could have not seen this kind of stuff coming, and that could have affected the development. But for now, hold that thought. For now, we'll focus on this. So this is a tweet that's been circulating around with this image taken from the forums. I'll read it. I've already posted this in 2 other threads, but I think this warrants its own thread. The World Editor's user agreement has been altered with the remake, and it has the same policy as StarCraft 2, namely, but notice that since StarCraft 2, or as StarCraft 2, so are we really surprised by this? But just because of the history with Dota, I think that's what made it a big deal. But anyways, back to reading it. The intellectual property of your maps belongs to Blizzard, not you, and they are not required to compensate you in any way if they make use of said intellectual property. Copyrighted material is not allowed to be used in any custom maps, blah blah blah. A bunch of older maps that applies to and have to be banned, but like legally they have to. It was kind of interesting. They probably got away with back then just because things were different, and people back then, like companies that could have done copyright shit, probably just didn't see it as worthwhile. But now things have changed with copyright trolling and all that shit. So yeah, any content that is deemed inappropriate by Blizzard can be removed at their discretion, and that's not surprising. But commentary, which is probably why the shiny new report button is a thing. So This is last updated January 21st, 2020, just a week before Warcraft 3. Um, so, ownership. Custom games are and shall remain the sole and exclusive property of Blizzard. Without limiting the foregoing, you hereby assign to Blizzard all of your rights, title, and interest in and to all custom games, including but not limited to any copyrights in the content of any custom games. Fucking legal writing can be wordy, but that should be pretty self-evident. Basically, they own any shit you flange on their thing, pretty much. And that's pretty much, it's just goes on to expand on that in ways that are legally required when you write up these kind of documents. And like, the thing is, this isn't surprising to me. I totally expect this. I'm not surprised. I kind of didn't realize they had done this since StarCraft 2, but I'm also not surprised. But, after the whole Dota 2 thing, of course. But at the same time, it's kind of dumb because now they're stifling the kind of creativity. Instead, they should have a program to help bring people who make really amazing custom maps into Blizzard and make sure they retain a stake in anything they create that gets created as a result. So, I mean, if they've already been doing this since StarCraft 2, it makes sense why StarCraft 2 didn't have a lot of awesome custom maps, and that wasn't really a thing. No one's going to put a lot of time and effort into it if Blizzard owns their shit to that level. And no one just thought about it back then either. People were just making shit for fun, just because they wanted to. And now that mods have turned into franchises and games. Portal started as a mod. Portal was a mod. Valve was like, hey, we like what you guys are doing. We're hiring you. But Valve, except for the fact they barely make games until they got interested in VR, which that's a whole nother conversation. Valve's the only one that's really been awesome about that, but Valve's kind of unique like that in the first place. But donations for custom game development. Oh, okay, this one could be interesting. Blizzard recognizes that the time and resources needed to create a custom game can sometimes be substantial. Accordingly, custom game developers are permitted to fund their development costs through donations, subject to the following restrictions. This might get squirrely here. I don't know. Legal Eagle is a great channel. I really hope he gets a bug to do a video on this kind of stuff. Because between this and the other issue with potential false advertising and claims of false advertising, I think it'd be really good for a lawyer to step in and really clear what actually is in the law and not. And just because it's in the law doesn't mean it's ethical either. There can't be bad, unethical laws. And civil disobedience, that's a whole nother conversation we don't have time for today. Anyways, corporations, limited liabilities, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I skipped one. Donators shall not be provided. Oh, sorry, I just bumped my cat. He hopped in my chair and I bumped him while I was going to move the mouse. So basically, you can't use it. You can't make donations a pay gate into anything extra. So it just which makes sense. That's reasonable. Blah blah blah. So you have to be usage with actually seems all mostly reasonable. Access, yeah, it's all mostly reasonable. Oh, but this is they say they can reserve the right to shut you down, which they can just ban you effectively is what would happen. Is it just be ban Hammer, you're not allowed custom games, this map's banned, and they just shut it down, and there wouldn't be much anyone could do about it. So some of this isn't so in isolation, out of context of Blizzard's recent patterns of behavior, it wouldn't necessarily be that big of a concern. But if you're freaking out being like, but I know, but this is where the but comes in. But with the recent patterns of Blizzard's behavior, this is kind of like, I don't feel like it's one of those things where it could be done fairly or they could abuse it, and they haven't really built in anything to prevent themselves from abusing it, which is totally normalized, which I also think is terrible. Just because it's normalized doesn't mean it's a good thing. Um, anyways, kind of want to wrap that topic up, but I don't know enough to comment other than like, yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah. I mean, I just want to play the campaign personally. I'm not that big into the custom maps, so it bothers me, but I mean, yeah, I got a lot of mixed feelings, and I want to hear from a lawyer what the law actually really says on that and how far they can go and how legal that even might be. Because I don't know how copyright law really works. Like, can they even do that? I think they can because it's their private platform and system, and that's the thing. It's like ethically it's bad. Legally, I think it's totally fine, even though I might not agree with it. But legally, it's permissible. Permissible is a better phrasing than fine. I take back my previous phrasing, replace it with permissible. It's legally permissible, but I don't like it. I think they could do better. I think they'd be smarter and they'd probably benefit themselves and their PR if they tried to turn it into a platform to recruit creative individuals because they need some. Like, because Blizzard hasn't been doing well, and they need passionate, creative people, which they could use. They could actually, that's the thing, they could be using the custom map thing as a way to help recruit new talent, but they're too short-sighted and be like, oh, we lost Dota 2 to Valve. Oh my god, we can't let that happen. Oh, we just got to shut it down, and then they just shoot themselves in the foot, and it's like, yeah, it's frustrating and it sucks. Anyway, so I already clicked over to it. So we're going to roughly segue into the whole issue with the false advertising, but start with just a general look at the forums to get an idea. It's not looking good on Metacritic. Like, I I'm coming from a different perspective personally. I just wanted to play the campaign with better graphics. Like, there has been a few minor things that have disappointed me a little bit and left me wondering, but like I haven't run into a lot of really any glitchiness. It looks great to me. Within what it is, like, I was kind of out of touch with some of the hype. Like, I've got so much going on and I've got so much other stuff I'm focused on. I kind of didn't. I kind of forgot about what they initially promised, and we'll actually review that shortly, um, quickly. But this is weird. Like, maybe that's not something everyone's being affected by because I didn't really notice that. The animation seemed fine to me. So maybe that's a some but not all thing, and it's maybe a bug some people are experiencing because some people are getting like low FPS animations, and I can't say I noticed that myself. But anyways, you get the idea scrolling through that. So this one got a bunch of attention. I didn't notice it. Maybe they even deleted it or something. I won't be surprised. I did have back when I was into Diablo 3. I learned that their community manager just at least at that time had a lot to learn and were very lacking in a lot of ways. So I kind of gave up on their forums. So I just say I wouldn't be surprised if this post has been deleted and we're only seeing it because I haven't refreshed the page. I'll hit F5 later, but I don't know if this person is correct because it'll if this does go to court, it'll be very interesting, and we'll get into that. And it's very interesting. So that's the thing. They're referencing the website, supposed promises and stuff. Supposed. That's the thing. And I was trying to find the sources for this, which was not necessarily that easy. 4+ hours of reforged cutscenes, and there's like only 2 minutes of new shit, and they just like HD enhanced it. So it's definitely a good discussion to come up, but I'm not sure. So this is the BlizzCon 2018 World Warcraft 3 announcement. So that's the cutscene they open the game with. But like, I don't remember a lot of what they promised, to be honest. Personally.
People. Because of this game, I became a developer.
That's cool.
And because of this game, I joined Blizzard and I stand before you today. Like,
that's really cool. But that's not the part we're looking for.
If you're lucky enough to be at BlizzCon today, you don't have to wait. In it, you command Arthas as he and his forces purge Stratholme of undead taint. It's a really key moment in his ascension.
You can find this yourself easily on
becoming
YouTube.
the Lich King.
That's the channel it's on.
If you can't join us today,
sure
spoiler alert, yeah, sorry.
It's probably on other places too, but this
You've
is
had
one I ran
16
into.
years, people. Come on.
Whoever did this has to activate his
can't join us
Windows.
today,
That's
don't worry.
hilarious. Oh my god, that's
Our
so funny.
amazing
That's
Blizzard
not
video
me. That's
team
whoever did the video.
Has
Oh,
got
that's
you
so
covered.
funny.
They put together some gameplay footage.
Okay, gameplay footage. See, I don't remember enough to know what was in the original game or not so well. Like, yeah, this was like back in high school, like pretty much around when I was supposed to graduate. And just after high school, I'm fuzzy. It's high school-ish. I remember because there's like a computer cafe. So, okay. Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. Remastered maps and campaigns. Upgraded UI and world editor. Just pause here. We do not have this UI. The UI is exactly like the old one, and it takes up way too much of the fucking screen still. And that's actually one of my biggest complaints. Is like, couldn't they have like done something about that? Then I watched this again. And I was like, wait, what? What happened to that? So I have a little. I wasn't actually like that upset until I actually started looking into this, because I watched this. I was like, wait, what the hell? Why? Where's that UI implementation? There must have been some sort of issue with it. Reforged in 4K. So I'm not seeing anything about the cutscenes being done here. So that could have been something they said, or something that was in another announcement.
We're too late. This entire city must be purged.
So, yeah, we'll move on from that.
And their custom games
Oops, that
gave
didn't
rise
pause,
to
apparently.
new.
So, this trailer is very interesting, but that says work in progress. So that one says it's not finalized, and that's good. Generally understood, not necessarily what you're going to get. Although I don't like that, even if it's like, you know, even if they can really work and get away with it, I'll turn the YouTube down a bit there. But even if they can get away with it, oh, this is fully remodeled character and animation. Oh wow! Holy shit! Wow! Wow! Remastered maps and campaigns. Yeah, same thing we saw, except that the UI is not really happening. So do you have anything about cutscenes? But like,
This is
yeah, so. But the thing is, like, there's talk about this, you know, some of the story being changed to be congruent with World of Warcraft, and they did announce that they weren't going to do that. So they did take that back, and like, so, you know, it opens, like, if this goes to court, the point I want to get at is if this goes to court, it's not necessarily, if there is a case, it's not necessarily going to be an easy win, because like, if you actually objectively look at the context, with the E3 announcement, that's generally understood to be not a final thing unless they say so, or like, you know, I like maybe that's because I'm used to an E3 where it wasn't always a final thing. Like I don't know, just from my perspective, I don't expect what I see at E3 to necessarily be the final product all the time. I just don't. I don't I don't know. That's just how I'm used to seeing stuff like that. Is like, you know, previews are, you know, they tease stuff, but they might not always be able to pull off what they want to do. And I don't know. I don't know. It's yeah. I just don't. I just straight up. I don't. I'm kind of mixed a little bit because like. I get it. I get it. There's been some legit fucking bait and switches. Like, as much as I want Anthem to succeed, that's like, wow, they really fell short of their ambitions, if I'm going to be generous. And like, I get it, and it's like, as much as I get it, you know, they PR wise, they have to be better about being clear about if this is iffy, and maybe be a bit more reserved about hyping things that they're not sure are going to make it in the final cut. Because even if they don't intend it to be a promise, it's often perceived as a promise, and even if legally even if it's legally permissible, it's just bad PR, and they need to get their shit together, at least on the PR front, to not be pissing people off so dumbly just by, you know, hyping things up and then not delivering. Even if it's, and that's the thing, they should be able to understand the difference between a perceived promise and a legal promise, like I'm talking about Blizzard, and realize that even if they're not legally obligated, that perceived promise is something they need to deal with in a PR sense. And like, this is take a look at the channel. The previous video was direct from the Warcraft channel, by the way. I should have made sure to point that out.
Glad you could make it, Uther. Watch your tone with me, boy. You may be the prince, but I'm still your superior as a paladin.
As if I could forget. Listen, Uther, there's something about the plague you should know.
This is a main point on the is they're saying
we're too late. These people have all been infected. They may look fine now, but it's just a matter of time before they turn into the undead. This entire city must be.
So we don't
I obey that command, Eve.
We're running up on time, anyways. But I think you kind of get the idea, and then we'll just look at the Warcraft 3 website while we finish off. So yeah, when it comes to the false advertising, I don't know enough legally to know, like. Yeah, I don't know enough about the legality of that kind of stuff to really comment more than, you know, the obvious stuff we already, stuff we already reviewed. And yeah, when it comes to the website, they seem to have put it in line with they've actually delivered on the website mostly, except for the trailer. So I mean, if this actually goes to court, I don't know if it's like the slam dunk easy win people might be kind of hoping for, and I'm just trying to be objective here. I could be totally wrong too, and like, I'm on the side of holding companies accountable for their fucking bullshit all over the place, and like it's a thing where companies being held accountable, and I think ultimately that's why people are so upset about this, is because it's been a thing for so long and it's not stopping. And, you know, people are just getting fed up with it. So even when it's, I don't want to say not that bad, but not so straightforward, I guess. Or there might be more egregious cases out there that didn't get so much attention when it's, you know, a very widely beloved franchise and IP, and then it's like, oh, what? We were expecting more than we got, unfortunately, even though they kind of did talk about it a little bit or try to, like, you know, back to the point about, you know, PR, like, I think it's more of a PR fuck up with Blizzard, which they've just been doing terrible with that. And, like, you know, back to the Blitzchung thing, like, you know, it was in the rules, and I kind of get the rule, like, you know, just keep political stuff out of these events in general, and, you know, just don't do that at the events. And, you know, I'm fine with that. You know, it's not a public forum, it's not a town hall, it's a private event by private entities, so it's actually totally fine for them to say you can't do that. Where the problem is the unequal treatment, even though they kind of tried to backtrack on it, is the unequal treatment and the clear bias and the clear pandering to the Chinese government and the censorship they want for Blizzard to get profits from China. And the core of that issue is really, it feels like they're sacrificing North American values for profit. But then again, we live in a capitalism where businesses' only mandate is profit and nothing else. So you can't really blame them when, like, literally the only thing a company has to do is make money. Like, when it comes to, like, oh, why do businesses exist in capitalism? Profit. There's nothing in there about, oh, ethics before profit or anything like that. So, you know, you can't actually expect them to act that way when it's not built into the system in that way. So, you know, and I think that needs to change. And we're running over time, so I kind of gotta wrap this up. I do have more thoughts on it, and it definitely warrants an extra Flange video to, like, kind of go, I think, more go over Blizzard's issues with PR and the bigger picture issues that it touches on with stuff like, you know, pandering to oppressive governments in disturbing ways that contradict the ethics of our I'm tripping over the phrasing, but I think you get where I'm going. Yeah, I've got to wrap this up, running over on time, like I'm terrible for doing. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing and hitting the little notifications bell and all that good stuff. Just a reminder, if you're watching this, make sure to subscribe to this channel, because you might have subscribed to the channel already and then not realize I remade the channel on a new email, just because it's like, YouTube can be weird with how they enforce stuff, and copyright strikes can get ridiculous sometimes. So it's just to protect my normal regular Gmail account and personal email, just so that doesn't get, like, banned or some crazy nonsense if something weird happens. Because, like, there's some horror stories about that where people were totally doing nothing wrong and had their channel banned and they can't even figure out why. So I won't lose my personal email if something like that happens, is the intent. Yeah, thanks for watching, and remember to bring a towel. Oh, yes, ironically, I was streaming Warcraft 3 Reforged last night. But funny enough, I had webcam issues that screwed it all up, but the game ran fine. But I really enjoyed playing the game itself. I really enjoyed Warcraft 3. So all these issues aside, I'm not really going to be playing custom maps. I do have mixed feelings about it, but at the end of the day, I'm enjoying the game enough that I'm going to stream it again tonight, and stream it Thursday, and stream it till I finish the campaign, because I'm just enjoying it. Yeah, so hope to see you for the live stream, and also for tomorrow's daily Flange. Remember to bring a towel, and have a good one. Gaming.